I never thought I'd be the kind of man who noticed small things. I'm practical, methodical, the type who believes facts matter more than feelings. But that morning, while my wife was packing for what she casually called a business trip, a small plastic blister pack sitting on the bathroom counter changed everything I thought I knew about my life. My name is Callum Wright. I'm 43. I've been married to Serena for 11 years, and until that moment, I believed we were predictable, stable, maybe boring, but honest. Serena worked in corporate consulting, the kind of job that came with last-minute flights and vague explanations. I never questioned it. Trust was our unspoken agreement. I worked in logistics management, paid most of the bills, handled the practical side of our life. We weren't passionate anymore, but we were functional. Or at least that's what I told myself. Intimacy had slowed down years ago. Not disappeared, just reduced to something scheduled and forgettable. I assumed that was normal. Marriage ages. Desire fades. Everyone says that. That morning, she was in the bedroom folding clothes, moving quickly, efficiently. I walked into the bathroom to grab my razor, and that's when I saw it. Birth control pills. New pack. Recently opened. Serena and I hadn't used birth control in over 5 years. She had stopped after telling me her hormones were off, and that we didn't need them anymore anyway. We weren't exactly active. The sight of that pack felt like a quiet alarm going off in my head. I picked it up, turned it over, checked the label. Prescribed 2 months ago. My chest tightened, not with rage, but with confusion. I didn't storm into the bedroom. I didn't confront her. I just placed the pack back exactly where it was and stared at my reflection for a long moment. I looked calm, normal, but something had shifted behind my eyes. A question had been planted, and I knew I wouldn't be able to ignore it. At breakfast, she chatted about flight delays and meetings. Her tone was light, almost cheerful. I washed her hands as she stirred her coffee, noticed how relaxed she seemed. I asked casually how long she'd be gone. She said 4 days. Chicago. Client meetings. Same script as always. I nodded, kissed her cheek, wished her luck. She smiled and told me not to work too late. It all felt rehearsed, like lines we both memorized years ago. After she left, I sat alone in the kitchen long after my coffee went cold. I wasn't angry yet. I was analytical. Birth control didn't mean cheating, I told myself. There were explanations. Medical reasons. Hormonal regulation. Maybe she planned to talk to me later. But deep down, another voice had started whispering, connecting dots I'd ignored. Late nights. Phone angled away. A sudden interest in fitness and new clothes. The absence of touch. The way she'd flinch when I reached for her in bed. That afternoon, I did something I'd never done before. I checked our shared phone account. Not messages. Not content. Just usage times. Her phone activity spiked late at night when she claimed to be asleep. Repeatedly. My hands didn't shake. My breathing stayed even. The calm scared me more than anger would have. It felt like clarity settling in, cold and precise. I didn't call her. I didn't text. I went to work, finished my tasks, attended meetings, spoke normally. On the drive home, I realized I wasn't trying to catch her anymore. I already knew enough. The pills weren't proof on their own, but combined with everything else, they told a story I'd been refusing to read. This wasn't about sex. It was about secrecy, preparation, intent. That night, I packed a small bag and placed it in the trunk of my car. Not dramatically, just enough for a few days. I cleaned the kitchen, fed the dog, set out the trash. Routine has a way of keeping you steady when emotions threaten to surface. I slept in the guest room and woke up before dawn, oddly rested. I left the house quietly and drove to work as usual. Serena called that evening. Her voice sounded distant, distracted. She asked how my day was. I told her it was fine. She talked about meetings and deadlines. I listened. When she said she missed me, I didn't respond right away. There was a pause, just long enough for something uncomfortable to pass between us. Then I said, "Drive safe," and ended the call. By the second day, the sadness arrived, but it was muted, controlled. I wasn't heartbroken in the way movies depict. I felt replaced, rendered unnecessary, like a role that had been quietly recast without notice. I realized then that even if she hadn't cheated yet, she was planning a life that didn't include me. And that realization hurt more than any confession could have. When she returned 4 days later, I wasn't home. I had left a note on the dining table. It was short, clear. I told her I knew about the pills, that I didn't believe in accidents or coincidences anymore. that I wouldn't beg for honesty from someone who had already chosen secrecy. I told her I'd contacted a lawyer and that all future communication could go through them. She called. She texted. She left voicemails alternating between anger and panic. I listened to none of them, not out of cruelty, but because I finally understood something important. Love without respect becomes self-erosion. Trust without transparency becomes delusion. I wasn't walking away in rage. I was stepping out of a story where I had become invisible. I'm staying with a friend now, adjusting to the quiet. Some nights are heavy. Others feel strangely light. I don't know exactly what comes next, but I know this. The moment I noticed those pills, my marriage had already ended. Not because of what they represented, but because of what they revealed. I was no longer part of her future. And for the first time in years, I chose not to ignore the truth.